Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, so far this year, I've laid out for you, step one, how to make great decisions, right? What is your game going to be for 2021? Then we did an episode on how to create a powerful morning success ritual, and then last week we talked about how to create a rockstar daily game plan. So I thought in this episode, what we need to talk about is energy because plans are great, right? Morning rituals are powerful. Daily game plans are wonderful, but if we're gassed out by noon local and we just don't feel like we have the energy to play, all good plans you can throw in the dumpster. Right. So in this episode, I want to share with you some strategies, some beliefs, some distinctions, and then maybe a challenge to really kind of get your game in a good place. So let's talk about energy. In my experience coaching advisors for 3 decades now, I believe there's three types of energy that we bring into our games. Number one, and these were, but by the way, we need them. We need all three. It's not like number one, number two, number three. But for conversation here, number one, physical energy, right? So in essence, gas in the tank. Fitness, right? Just having the physical energy, right, to go ahead and take the action that you need to go take to pull off the results that you need. Next is mental energy, and we'll talk about that in a little bit and why that's so important. And then the third one is emotional energy, so physical, mental, and emotional energy. And they all need to be cultivated differently, right? There are differences in all three energy, but all three must be present. And the higher the amount they are present, the faster you achieve your goals. So let's unpack all three inside this episode. So let's talk about physical. So a couple disclaimers first. I am not a doctor. I am not a nutritionist. I am not a physical fitness instructor. None of that things. But I do know this: the better shape you're in, the better condition you're in, the more you make, the faster you achieve your goals in this game. I can tell you there are some things I think are unequivocal, and I think there are some things that seem to be okay, but they don't really correlate. So, case in point, in my career, I've never been able to correlate a CFP or CFA or an MBA or anything like that to making more money. To elevate, I think you get smarter, and because you're smarter, you're more confident. I think okay, there could be a bit of a dotted line there in elevating your game. But I can tell you what's an absolute correlation. You get to the gym, you eat right, and we eat right is whatever that means to you. So again, we're not going to get into that philosophy here. But I've had clients lose 30 pounds and double their business in 2 years. Lose 50 pounds and grow their game massively. I can correlate that. I can correlate. I don't think in this game, I don't think a personal trainer is optional. I don't think a gym membership or some home gig or some game with everything going on. I understand that. That needs to go into the personal development budget, and you need to have that physical team around you, whether that's a personal trainer, a nutritionist, whatever you think you need, massage therapist, somebody to stretch out, whatever. Right? We need that. So that's going to cover the physical aspect, and I'd highly recommend investing in yourself. If you don't have these people on your team, go find them. Go get some recommendations. Go try some things. It will make the every dollar you spend getting physically fit in this game, you will yield a dollar plus plus. It's a great ROI. Okay. Next is talk about mental energy, right? So mental energy is what I call what comes in. All right. So what comes in, like if you're digesting, like we'll call it mental diet. So if you're digesting news and social media and more social media and the news and text and tweets and all these things, this will cost you massively, not just in the bank account, like your physical bank account, but man, you just walk around like pissed off all the time, right? And I don't care red, blue, purple, pink. I don't care about that. Just telling you that if you've got negative inputs coming in, right? Social media, like get rid of it, pause it, mute it, like put yourself in a little bit of a bubble, right? That's one of the things I've done, and we'll talk about strategy. So one of the things I've done this year is I quadrupled. I thought I did a good job last fall, but I really quadrupled my noise bubble, right? And I'm very, very careful about that. I'm careful what I consume, what I watch, what I listen to, all that. And it's made a profound difference. It's almost like your mind's not getting cluttered up with stuff that you really can't control anyway. And remember, think of your brain as RAM. Think of your consciousness as RAM, right? Like a computer. At some levels, like, let's call it finite. If you keep throwing stuff in there that's not useful to the cause, your goals, right? You're just going to get overwhelmed with it, and then you've got nothing to go grow your game, be in the right mindset, being growth mindset, all that, because you're like just kind of deal with it all, right? So mental is about, so again, physical is about, again, our exercise, nutrition, physical bodies, rest, recovery, all those things. The mental is input, right? So what are we inputting? What's coming in? How do we filter out most of the stuff we don't want? Okay. And then emotional is the third component. Emotional, we'll call them your relationships, right? And this is something I really want to really chat with you all about in this episode. I believe in my world, people fall into three broad categories, or I'll use the term buckets. Okay. There are people in your life who add value to your world. They're positive, they're uplifting, they're a joy to be around. You look to be around them. They make a great tribe. So that's bucket A. Bucket B, you have people in your life. And when I say in your life, let's define that, right? Personal relationships, colleagues, and then the vastness called social media. Okay, all that. The second bucket are neutrals. They don't bring anything to the game, but they don't take anything either. So they don't bring anything to the party. They don't steal anything either, right? So they're okay, right? So we love the first bucket. The second bucket's okay. Let's talk about the third bucket. These are people, these are relationships that are thieves. They steal from you. They steal your intent. They steal your attention. They steal your bandwidth. They steal, get talk about mental, right? They steal that because they're always driving on something, always harping on something, always negative. They're just like, it's like somebody just like unplugs you. They take, when you talk to this person or communicate or interact with this person, you almost feel like you got to take a nap. You're just so frustrated and fried out. They're stealing your success. They're thieves. You must do everything possible to eliminate those people. Now, if they share your DNA, it's a whole different animal. We're not going to get into this part of this episode. But if they're what we call optionals, right? Eliminate them. I have been purging my Facebook. I have been purging my LinkedIn. I looked at like all the people I've associated with and I said, okay, what bucket are these people in? And what I found for me, I'm here in Florida. I used to play a lot of golf. I used to hang with guys play a lot of golf. And when I really looked at the facts, right, here are the facts. They were in bucket 2 or bucket 3. Nobody brought anything to my game. In fact, my game was, not economically, and what I'm about, it was, and this is not, hopefully it doesn't come off as arrogant or anything. I just had a different game. I have a different game than them. And what I realized was, hanging out with the boys, right, at the local cheers, didn't really bring a lot to my game. In fact, it stole from me. And when you put it in terms of theft, here's what I've noticed. When you put it in terms of theft, you're going to look at it differently. So, I mean, I've had 20, 30-year relationships with people that I basically have ghosted on Facebook, social media, things like that. Like, these are people I used to hang with, back in the late 80s and early 90s, that I just don't hang anymore because I look at them. Remember, when we think about buckets for a second, the people that you want to really surround yourself with are what I call forward thinking. They're in the present, but they think towards the future. How many people still look to live in the past? You see these Facebook groups, remember this, high school groups, right? 30 years ago, right? There are people that are still living like, I know these people, that's why I don't associate, that are in their 60s living life like they're 20, 25 years old. They bring nothing to the table. They're thieves. So the challenge I have for you in this episode is to start sweeping out the people in your life who are in the third bucket and looking for more people in the first bucket, right? So let's eliminate the third bucket, right? Let's pull the people out, get rid of them. They're thieves. Remember, they're thieves. Let's get rid of them, right? And then in the first bucket, let's look for powerful, positive associations. Let's look for a new tribe, like-minded people, right? Because remember, there's an old saying, you are the measure of the 5 people you associate most with, right? We've heard that before. It's not a new term. But really, really look at that. Okay, really look at that. And like I said, take the DNA out, right? Because again, your family, you can choose your friends. Sometimes you don't get to choose your family. I understand that. But take a look at everything else you're doing and ask yourself, does this connection serve me? Every time and there's a little test I use like on Facebook. If this person was in town, if they messaged me and said, "Hey, I'd love to get together with you for a cup of coffee or a drink or whatever," right? Would I be down with that? And the answer is no, I don't think so. So they're out, right? Same thing on LinkedIn. I looked at people on LinkedIn. I'm like, okay, is this person? What are they posting? Are they posting positive things? Are they adding to my feed? Right? Are they adding positive things, or am I getting a bunch of garbage and conspiracy theories and all this other stuff? And I'm like, no, we're not going to deal with that, right? And we just eliminate it. You must be ruthless in your relationships. 3 buckets: add, neutral, subtract. Neutral, no harm, no foul. Add, more please. Take away, eliminate. That's what I want you to work on. Now, if any of this made sense to you, and I hope it did, one of the things I want to be very clear, I want to extend this personal invitation. So I will personally sponsor you. If you want to come into Magellan Network, which is a tribe, a group of like-minded men and women who are financial advisors who get what we're about. They're all in the first bucket. So if that appeals to you and you want to do a little research and see if this makes sense to you, there's a link. Come check that out. And if not, no harm, no foul, but at least go ahead and purge that third bucket. Remember, physical energy, right? Body, take care of your body. Mind, rest, right? Mental, inputs. Emotional, people. You must control all 3 domains of energy in order for you to rockstar your game in 2021. So there you have it. If you really enjoyed watching this episode, go ahead and subscribe to the Magellan Network Show with Coach Joe here on YouTube. And remember, I'm always here to help you become a better entrepreneur, business owner, and financial advisor. With that, I'll see you next time on the Magellan Network Show with me, Coach Joe. Take care and goodbye.